I hope you had a Merry Cringemas, sports fan, and wonderfully happy Brawler Days if you choose to celebrate. We did it. Sports fan, I want to thank you for an incredibly successful Cringemas. A month of videos every single day. Some quick back of the envelope math. It was about 130 hours spread over 22 days, which doesn't even include all the sourcing and watching of clips last month, getting them all together. Here's all the notebooks we used to write these episodes. Oh, me and Dookie Boy. We went through 3 full pens and several cases of Baja Blast Zero, but it was all worth it. So what we've done here today, I do want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, genuinely. Sorry. I never thought that this many people would want to watch this silly channel, and I really feel like we're just now getting started. And it's a lot of work, but it's a labor of love, and I don't give a about money. I don't really care if we ever even monetize this thing because I think commercials are lame. More than anything, and I've never really been this open with you, sports fan, but more than anything, I just want to talk about these things that I love and share them with maybe some new audiences or maybe some people who forgot about them. And I just want to have fun. And I just want you to laugh. And I want you to see some weird things and experience them with me. So thank you for your time. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting and liking and sharing and all that. And I truly can't wait to see where all of this takes us. So what we have today is the complete compendium. That's right. Every single Cringemas 2024 episode, back to back to back to back to back with all the cumbersome intros cut out. We're just going straight. We're just ripping every day right off of that bad vent calendar and getting you all the good, bad wrestling in one gigantic video. Thank you for 2024. I can't wait for you to see what we have in store for 2025. And from me, from the Duke, Happy New Year, and thank you.
Again, there's Santa. He's been out here.
And Santa himself is here passing out t-shirts. And this kid wants a t-shirt almost as much as I wanted a Super Nintendo for Christmas 1995. And in keeping with tradition, Santa ignores him. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man himself, though, is in the ring. Professional wrestling Scrooge McDuck himself. And he proclaims that he has enough money to buy Savio Vega, which doesn't present a problem in the 21st century at all.
No.
To which Jerry the King Lawler adds,
What do you think his price would be? 2 tacos and a burrito?
Oh, we're starting off Cringemas hot this time, sports fan. Ted DiBiase also tells Savio Vega to bring his fat friend into the ring. The $1 Million Man proclaims that every kid watching right now believes in Santa and that each and every one of those kids is also an idiot.
You serious, Clark?
Ted DiBiase also adds that those kids are idiots because Santa is a fat slob with a white beard.
Is that right?
You smell like beef and cheese. You don't smell like Santa.
Ted then questions that how could Santa Claus possibly circle the globe, the entire Earth in one night? And I feel like I've seen this movie before.
How can one man, in one night, visit all the children of the world?
And we all know how that movie ended.
Oh, wait just a minute.
Santa then hits Savio Vega with a cloth bag full of t-shirts and then also a clothesline to the throat. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, Mr. Christmas himself, then beat Savio down to the mat and stomp him repeatedly on this children's program. And it goes on for so long that certainly someone's going to come running out, except no one does. Merry Christmas, kids.
How'd you like to be dead?
But then Savio Vega attacks Santa in the aisleway, and Santa Claus is revealed to actually be Seth Rogen from Anchorman.
I'm getting some great stuff in the stories.
But the next night on Raw gets even more ridiculous because we're trying to get answers from Ted DiBiase, so he of course goes on the Brother Love show, and this is just completely implausible. It doesn't make any sense in the 21st century, sports fan, that one of the world's richest men would be colluding with a loudmouth blowhard who paints his face with dark makeup.
No, don't be red. ridiculous.
DiBiase then admits that it was not the real Santa Claus. Calm down, guys, it wasn't. His name, though, is worse because it's Santa Claus. Santa Claus.
Oh, my Lanta.
He's the opposite of jolly old Saint Nick. He's from the South Pole. He takes presents from children at Christmas time. He even hates cookies. And again, I think we've seen this movie before.
And this time, I'll keep it all.
And we all know how that movie ended.
Wait just a minute.
So the next week on Superstars, we see the planet's only Antarctic resident in action. Turns out he's a wrestler some of you probably better know as Balls Mahoney, which begs the question, sports fan, why didn't they just name him Santa Balls? Santa Balls' jacket gets stuck on and he freaks out a little bit, but just rips it off over his head. We're fine. And then underneath, we do find out that he does look like a non-playable character from Red Dead Redemption 2 that you would find like mauled to death by a cougar in an outhouse. Santa Balls then does his own mauling of young Scott Taylor and even proceeds to ask Taylor if he's been a good little boy this year.
I'm the real thing. Sit down on my lap and there will be no doubt.
Which begs the question, if you've been good, does Santa Claus steal from you more? The crowd proceeds to go mild as Scotty Too Hottie himself bumps his ass off for Santa Balls. Unfortunately, this would be the last time Santa Claus would be seen alive, as later that evening he did fall off of Scott Calvin's roof and disintegrate like a Jedi. That's right. Santa Claus is canon in the Tim Allen verse. But we've seen that movie before and we all know how it ends.
Doesn't anybody anymore?
Brutus the Barber! Beefcake!
The holidays are a time to go ice skating with a partner, to go shopping with your family, to go out and have some hot cocoa and sit around and talk about how wonderful the year was and how much everybody means to you and celebrate all the successes you've had over the past 365 days.
She slapped me upside the head with divorce papers.
Oop. We better back up. Brutus the Barber Beefcake, perhaps most famous for being formerly best friends with Hulk Hogan, maybe second most famous for... And the Bell Beefer himself is fresh off of an absolutely tragic real-life accident, a very gruesome and very real parasailing accident that nearly took his life. So we're not making light of Brutus Beefcake almost dying. He's fine. Well, I mean, look at him, but he's fine. But he's come to us tonight to reveal that he has a very important announcement.
She slapped me upside the head with divorce papers.
No, will you stop? He's here to tell us that he's back. He's back to take on all comers and come on all takers. But Vince McMahon and his toupee are both nervous about this risky maneuver.
You could say it could be a risky involvement here.
And it's in fact so serious that someone in this Manhattan crowd questions Beefcake's sexuality and a woman laughs.
Start spreading the news.
Beefcake also shares that before his parasailing accident, his mother died of cancer. And someone in the crowd yells, "I'm leaving today."
Yeah, okay.
Then Brutus Beefcake's father died of a heart attack that was
Half from grief, half from sorrow.
and these guys clap. I want to be a part of it. He then shares that before his parents' bodies were even cold in the ground, his wife,
She slapped me upside the head with divorce papers
and of course,
and took off with some barfly.
with every penny he had. And in response, this guy picks his nose on camera. New York!
New York, Manhattan.
Brutus Beefcake then goes in gruesome detail of his accident where he was walking along the beach and a woman was parasailing and got off track, came right at him, lifted her knees up to protect herself out of instinct and smashed into his face.
Baboom!
You bad man. You very, very bad man.
But he also shares that when she hit him, he was
walking along the beach and looking up into the sun.
so.
You figure it out.
Beefcake then says that even though his eyes were smashed into the back of his skull, his ears still work and he could hear what the EMTs were saying on the helicopter.
Because women show their tits, have short skirts, and then they feel violated when I look at them.
He then shares that when he got to the hospital, the doctors did not give him a very high probability of living. And I want to pause right here. We have a fun show here. I'm not making light of this person almost dying. He survived. He's fine. But when he reveals this very serious detail that he was basically supposed to die in the hospital, this warm holiday New York crowd yells,
You fellas have a lot of growing up to do, I'll tell you that. Ridiculous.
I feel like the real villain of this story is New York. And you know what they say? If you can make it there, you can...
Going back to Waterloo where the vampires hang out.
That's it. Brutus Beefcake's back, and he thankfully didn't die.
How can you die when you're dead?
You know what hurts the most is the lack of respect. You know? That's what hurts the most. Except for the other thing. That hurts the most. But the lack of respect hurts the second most.
Every morning I get up, I relive the embarrassment.
The holidays are a time for your favorite things. One of my absolute unironic favorite things is John Tenta, formerly known as Earthquake. This, however, not his brightest moment.
We're gonna get through this, and we're gonna get through it together.
WCW really put my man through it. They brought him in and changed his name to Avalanche.
Then it would say Lanch Party, Kevin.
Then they made him join the Dungeon of Doom and be a shark. He then spent 24 hours in a tattoo chair, changing his tiger tattoo to a shark tattoo because my man's dedicated. And to top it all off, last week...
On Jimmy Hart's face, the giant comes!
And then after that sexy episode, they kicked him out of the Dungeon of Doom, made him go up against his former teammate, the Giant.
And then I might eat Jimmy Hart off for dessert!
Ooh, promise? Tenta tries his best but loses spectacularly to the Giant. And then Big Bubba comes out and shaves Shark's hair. Both of them. Adding insult to injury, Bubba doesn't shave his whole head, he only shaves half. So he's got a half of Friar Tuck going on.
The reason why I'm not shaving the other half off.
Because they're stupid, that's why.
Shark then says that every time someone laughs at his half hair, he relives the embarrassment of what Big Bubba did to him. Yeah, makes sense. That's the storyline. Big Bubba shaved half his head and he left it.
Forget it, Donnie. You're out of your element.
Now that's what I call a feud.
I'm not a fish. I'm a man.
Shark then proclaims that he is not a fish. And I want to tell you something. You're lucky. You're lucky, WCW. You're lucky, Mr. John Tenta. I respect you very much because I was so ready to say, you're not a fish and neither is a shark. But guess what? Sharks are fish. You learn something every day. The greatest teacher in my life has been John Tenta. The next week, Big Bubba plays with scissors. The next week, Bubba beats John Tenta with a sock. But the sock is full of quarters because... So it's now been 6 weeks since the initial incident, and John Tenta's hair has not grown back. This is either a choice that he's still making 6 weeks later, or in pro wrestling lore, if your head is shaved, it's forever. Or my man likes it.
Gosh, freaking dang it, I cut it too short. I'm cooked.
John Tenta once again loses spectacularly to the Giant. So, of course, a month and a half later, Bubba comes back out with those clippers and then shaves John Tenta's beard. And this guy, this is like...
Jerry, get a grip.
Sorry, guys.
Apology not accepted.
Please, Santa Claus, if you're listening, end this feud before Big Bubba runs out of visible hair to shave.
We don't take pubes.
All of this, of course, leads us to Bash at the Beach 1996 and a Sioux City sock on a steak match. Carson City coins and a crew on a column match. A Dumbtown Ducats and a dry fit on a dowel match. TM. The object of the match is to climb the pole, the very, very skinny pole, and grab the sock full of quarters, and then you get to hit your opponent with it, or they can take it from you and hit you with it. The match isn't over. You can just get that and use it. But there's no disqualification, so why not just bring one? Neither one of these men can possibly climb that little skinny pole, so they just kind of stomp around for a while John Tenta has a mustache now. Bubba tapes John Tenta to the ropes and whips him for a while. Tenta scissors his way out. Big Bubba then makes Jimmy Hart climb the pole because he's the only one in this match who can still currently pass the president's physical fitness test. But then Shark socks his sworn enemy and spills the Sioux City silver shillings over the slumped, sweaty shoulders of his saboteur by the seashore.
Well, sometimes don't be afraid.
Oh, be a little afraid. So when I was a kid, every Christmas time on one of the Turner channels, they would play The Wizard of Oz. So it only makes sense that we would visit the time period when the world of The Wizard of Oz blended and smashed into the world of championship wrestling.
Hey, you got your
WCW, Wizard of Oz.
What? Delicious.
Because The Wizard of Oz is a kid's movie, it only makes sense that his entrance on this children's pro wrestling show should be objectively terrifying. Lee Lane.
Very eerie situation here in St. Petersburg.
Nothing like this.
We start off really great with someone accidentally talking over their lavalier microphone before it's time to go.
Totally went.
After 10 or 15 minutes of this epilepsy-inducing strobe light, we finally get a voiceover.
Once upon a time in a land far away, there lived a wizard, but not the Wizard of Oz.
Okay, cut. Then what are we doing? What are we doing here then? So it's not the Wizard of Oz, it's a Wizard of Oz?
His name was the Great Wizard.
A Great Wizard of Oz? Are we stretching a little bit? I'm willing to go along with an all right Wizard of Oz.
And he ruled the Kingdom of Oz.
He so didn't. So then we're just recreating the Wizard of Oz movie scene where Dorothy and company come to visit the Wizard of Oz. But again, this isn't the Wizard of Oz. This is the Wizard of Oz's ex-brother-in-law's cousin's former dry cleaner's roommate of Oz. Kevin Sullivan, who is now playing a different wizard who's not Oz, but also not the Great Wizard, who's also from Oz. He's just a different wizard, and he just keeps repeating, "Welcome to Oz! Don't be afraid!" Which is worth noting that the minute you have to tell someone to not be afraid is probably the time period where they should get the most afraid. Oz, again, not the Wizard of Oz, a Wizard of Oz, a third cousin of Oz, spins around slowly, and this monkey has an adorable little diaper on. And I'm as confused as you are, sports fan, because we're in Oz, but it's also the Wizard of Oz, but that's not the Wizard of Oz, but his name is also Oz. But it doesn't even matter because he then tells us that he's going to show us exactly who he really is. But instead, he just slowly walks down the aisle with Kevin Sullivan so we get an even better look at these dollar store flimsy Moses and the Ten Commandments masks that we apparently got at a great discount and in bulk. We finally get Oz the late and glowerful into the ring, and the regular lights come on, and it feels kind of like if you were to be at a strip club and it's closing time, and then like the regular fluorescents come on and all the black lights and all the fancy stuff's off, and now you just have to look around and kind of deal with the consequences of the last 4 hours. Oz then finally removes his mask, and we are treated to a good look at a rookie year Kevin Nash here in WCW, where the big boys play.
Look at the adjective, play.
Oh, I'm looking at the adjective, and I'm looking at a silver fox. In very short order, Oz does a toilet flush powerbomb to whatever his opponent's name was, defeating him in the most terrifying fashion.
We're gonna press on, and we're gonna have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny fucking Kaye.
Less than 20 seconds. But what happens if we get him into the ring with a real competitor for upwards of 10 minutes? We may as well see. Wait a minute. Listen.
It's a twister!
You know what makes the world go round?
Fat bottom girls?
Fuel makes the world go round, brother.
My entire life has been a lie.
My hand is just a little big.
So before coming to the World Wrestling Federation in 1989, that's right, back in the 1900s, the American Dream, Death Row, the Tower of Power, served various odd jobs throughout the country to prove that he is Americana Daddy.
I was a road worker, a gas station attendant, and a plumber.
Dusty is here with his horse, Big Mac. Dusty then explains to us what happens when horses or humans or anything else eat. That fuel starts in the mouth, Daddy, goes straight down the esophagus, down into the belly welly. And it starts coagulating around, starts congratulating itself, moving all around.
It feels so good, just like we feel.
And then, when it goes to the end, goes through your intestines, Daddy.
And there he is.
Oh, wait, a man has worked at a job 30 years. They give him a watch.
He wore this watch up his ass.
Homemade fuel.
Is Dusty Rhodes saying that if I eat burger and then run around, then poop it and save it, that I can use it as gas for my car? Because I've already been doing that for years. In this economy?
Yeah?
No.
Oh, come on.
No, please.
Awesome.
No.
Here you go.
My hand is touching your hand.
Dusty then tells us that when you got fuel, you got this here. Basic fuel, Daddy.
You plant this in your garden and trees grow.
I don't believe in science. Cool. This coffee smells like doo-doo.
And I gotta say, sports fan, I'm starting to buy into this whole thing that maybe poop can be actual fuel, not just fertilizer, but like fuel the world. And I just don't want to get my hopes up about the future of poop and fuel and poop fuel and have my heart broken. Not again.
I should have known. Poop ball.
And then we don't have to think about it too much because the American Dream breaks it down into simple terms for you, Daddy.
Doo-doo is good for me, and doo-doo is good for you.
That is one big pile of
Doo-doo.
The Horseman! All four of them!
The holidays are a time to come together, but they're also a time to tell people how you really feel.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
So it's a weird situation we got here in very early 1990, where Sting, of all people, has joined the evil Four Horsemen. But then Sting won a #1 contender match, and guess who the champion is?
Wings!
I think we got a problem here. So live here at Clash of Champions, we need to unpack these outfits a little bit here, first of all. Ric Flair needs those reports by 5 o'clock, damn it.
Two things. One, you can't bleach a cheroot. Out of the question.
Double A Arn Anderson just left his daughter's wedding that was way too long, and he can't even believe she married that prick.
When the meal's over with, I will talk to you. I don't want to get into what happened last night because it's only going to make me mad.
Ole Anderson says the boss wants you to get in the car with us and take a little ride.
What's this? What's this? It's the jacket.
And Sting is dressed like that thing where parents drag their toddlers to the mall and get their picture on top of a pony.
I want to be a cowboy, baby.
Terry Funk, of course, is leading this interview segment, and his outfit consists of a tuxedo up top, blue jeans on the bottom with white cowboy boots, and of course, earrings.
A whole shoebox full of dangly ones.
No notes. Being the consummate performer of the 20th century, Ole Anderson, who, by the way, even in the grave, I am still a little afraid of, immediately turns his back to the camera and keeps it there.
You want to just do something and hang on that microphone, or you want me to hang on to it?
He's so terrifying, he could actually be trying to be polite, but it still sounds like he might take your life at the end of it. I'm going to the kitchen. Can I get you anything to drink? Flair then tries to cut the tension and mention that Ole Anderson is here to make a statement on behalf of the Horsemen. And Ric Flair here does look like a secondary side character that Jerry and the gang would have a problem with. Seinfeld! I'd lend you my members-only jacket if you wouldn't get lost in the arms. Woo! And what's the deal with his hair? Is it blonde? Is it white? Who are these people? It very much feels like 4 or 5 disappointed dads have shown up at the local city council meeting, and it starts out super tough, but then ends like,
I grew up here. I live here. I used to play football here. I can't believe anybody's going to close this damn thing down.
I talk.
Ole first mentions that the reason the Horsemen have gathered here on national television is because of Sting, and Sting, right away, Sting makes the face that like he knows that they know that he's the one who broke Mom's vase.
I am a merciless.
You're not going to be a horseman anymore.
Ole Anderson, right out of the gate, just tells Sting he's not a horseman anymore. Just rips the Band-Aid right off. Is anybody aware that this is supposed to be on television and that people might like to see it? So this whole thing started when Sting helped Ric Flair in his feud against Terry Funk, and Ole mentions that when he and Arn ran out and saw Sting helping Rick, they wanted to...
We came in that ring and we were ready to stick your head in the sand again.
But Rick gave them the signal to hold off, which of course we all know that signal is... Ole then says that Sting did the one unforgivable thing
that we can never forget.
Which is when Sting signed that title match with Ric Flair.
You signed your death warrant!
I'm gonna kill you.
Signed his own death warrant. That's right. Just like the wild old West.
Well, that's the end of this suit.
Are you listening now?
Rick, apparently as recently as tonight, stopped Ole from killing Sting again.
He helped me one time. We let him live one time.
Which, hold on. Okay. Sting helped me at a pro wrestling shenanigans, so I guess we won't murder him. Just this once.
Oh, yeah? What are you kidding?
The only thing that feels wilder than Ole Anderson wanting to murder someone over ornate, ornamental waist accessories is that Sting, being a horseman, thought that getting a title shot against another horseman just like wouldn't be a problem. That'd be like getting your friend fired and then taking their job and getting a pay raise and being like, oh, dude, I thought you'd be happy for me at least. Jeez.
Oh, shit.
Not only does Sting have to cancel the match before the broadcast is over, if they ever see Sting again, Sting immediately says no. He grabs Ole's pleather jacket and Ric Flair just knocks him out.
I'm trying to tell you, get out of the business.
Don't talk to me or my son ever again. Woo! So Sting's out of the Horseman either way, but will he make the decision to stay alive?
2 hours later.
The main event's a cage match. Sting hasn't made his decision yet, but he comes running out, climbs the cage, and legitimately tears his knee and can't do the title match anyway.
Oh, I'm fine. It's just that life is pointless and nothing matters, and I'm always tired.
Putting him in a closet where he is and you know he's there, don't you?
Holidays are a time to end disagreements, to end your feuds, and come together. But that's boring, so we won't. This feud started when Macho Man Randy Savage put lipstick all over Kevin Nash's face for some reason.
Oh, isn't he cute? And look at these muscles!
And then like a week later, Macho Man comes on TV and challenges Kevin Nash to a fight, and someone comes out that's not Kevin Nash. It's a guy who kind of looks a little bit like Kevin Nash, but he's wearing a sparkly red dress. Oh yeah, I forgot. The whole undertone of this whole thing is...
And push him back in the closet where he needs to stay.
The 90s. I'm sorry.
This is stupid.
You said it, man.
Is Kevin Nash being played by Eric from True Blood. And a few minutes later, Randy Savage wins, but the audience loses. And a little while later, we see Randy Savage and his 3 lady friends trying to leave, and there happens to be, for some reason, there's a camera inside the limo, so I'm sure nothing will happen.
I'll be right back.
Two trucks stop Randy Savage's limo, and then Kevin Nash takes 15 to 20 minutes to hook up some sort of hose. And if you thought this angle was poop so far,
He called the shit poop.
Kevin Nash decides to climb on top of the limo and spray room temperature diarrhea down through the sunroof, immediately ruining Macho Man Randy Savage's outfit from Gadzooks.
They don't make these cords in bootcut anymore.
They're dressed like poopy versions of what we thought people would look like in the future. And then the next week, Randy Savage stomps out in a coat that's made from real Muppet.
Maybe.
And he has a 5-gallon bucket that he used to save up all of Team Madness's loose protein dumps all week long. He's had this bucket full of diarrhea for a whole week, so who's the joke really on here?
Meanwhile, you yourself are left with a hand that smells like shit.
Small price to pay for the smiting of one's enemies.
Because revenge is a dish best served 8 hours after you've eaten it. But Macho Man adds that Nash isn't even there. But the bucket
Symbolically
is going to be dumped on the head of the man that is
really stupid.
Savage leaves, and then in the next segment, Kevin Nash shows up at the building directly from the airport with his luggage, which is weird. And it probably doesn't mean anything that he very carefully carries it into the ring and for no reason whatsoever sets his bag in an exactly particular way on top of a chair facing the ramp.
It's probably nothing.
Nash calls out Savage, who in his frustration immediately adds 3 syllables to the word person.
You're a stupid person.
Savage runs in the ring, Nash saunters out, and Nash says he will only fight Savage if Savage gets down on his knees and begs him.
I love you.
But Kevin Nash's luggage starts moving.
What is moving? It's a left blow. Let me get warm here a minute.
It's a lady, and she dumps 5 gallon of colon O's
Right on top of the Madness's head,
And a famous man once said,
Macho Man Randy Savage, Space is the place, too hot to handle, too cold to hold, funky like a monkey, strong like a bull, and
Dinner was full.
You know what I mean?
the holidays are the time when you have to navigate your weird uncle. And I would say that Waylon Mercy is the weird uncle of pro wrestling. A short-lived gimmick that basically revolves around someone in the WWF office had Cape Fear on VHS, which by the way came out like 4 years before that, and they just really loved it.
Hey, I just saw Heat. Heat, I saw that 6 years ago. I want to talk about it now.
Right off the bat, my man's wearing pool shoes on dry land. So I'm in. Safety first. And oh yeah, we didn't even talk about the fact that his name is Waylon Mercy. Waylon Mercy. Wailing Mercy.
Dad?
More like Phelan Mercy. So Waylon Mercy immediately tells us that he's a peaceful man and he doesn't like having any problems, so that when he finally gets to the World Wrestling Federation, he just wants peace and he doesn't want to cause any trouble.
Nobody around here to mess with him.
Which sounds fantastic if you're tuning in to the World Wrestling Federation.
With the pageantry and the fireworks and the golden belts.
No problems. Exciting.
It's gonna be peaceful.
Even though there was already serial open, Waylon Mercy did open the Golden Gram so he could get the temporary tattoos out, and Mom's gonna be pissed.
You know what I mean?
It is implied via the tattoos and his creepiness that Waylon Mercy is a former convict.
Maybe you don't know where you is.
You in Maine now, boy.
And then our old friend Waylon says he has some important things to show us, like...
It's a rock.
And...
It's water.
What are you gonna do with that rock by the water, Waylon? By the water. Watch out. He shows us that when you throw a rock into the water, it creates ripples. And this is so far the shittiest episode of Beekman's World I've ever seen.
Well, obviously, I am catching a very well-tossed salad.
You know what I mean?
No, I don't. I don't think you know what you mean. And then, Waylon mercifully.
Cut it out.
We finally come to the last vignette. Waylon Mercy shows us that he has put a worm on his arm.
Enjoying this worm.
I got worms.
He then says he doesn't like worms crawling on him. So why'd you put it there yourself, Waylon? He also says that he doesn't like wrestlers crawling on him either. The lady's protesting a little too much, I think. Man, I just hate it. It's so creepy. It'd be a real shame if anybody just like started crawling on me, started crawling around on me, wiggling like a little old wiggle worm. Be a real shame if somebody just crawled their worm on me.
I'm not giving it a foot massage either.
He then smashes the worm, and look, sports fan, I know it's only a worm, but the fact that any living thing had to die for these terrible vignettes is really the true crime. I don't care what Waylon Mercy did in his past. That's the true crime here.
And I hereby sentence you to eat one of the spiciest bowls of jambalaya you'd ever seen.
Then finally, after weeks of build-up, we get to Waylon Mercy's debut. It's such an anticlimax that I think instead of showing you the match, I will just have someone who speaks Waylon Mercy's native tongue explain it to you.
We live up by another day. We live up by another day. What ain't there?
Know what I mean?
Yes. Finally.
Cause this here, this is main justice.
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
Family traditions, togetherness, Yuletide cheer, but let's not forget the real meaning of the holidays, presents. In 1997, WCW was mostly Hulk Hogan talking. And there was one entire episode of Nitro that was basically completely dedicated to giving Hulk Hogan gifts. After literally 20 minutes of airtime of the New World Order taking over the show, tearing signs down, spray painting things, converting equipment, making the crew change their t-shirts.
Great story. Compelling and rich.
Executive Vice President Eric Bischoff comes out to start the festivities of Hulkmas.
So what you gonna do when Hogan runs wild on you?
Eric Bischoff rides out on a motorcycle and then immediately announces that he's giving Hulk Hogan almost the exact same motorcycle, to which the stagehand driving it adds, and then he says he's giving him a second hog, except this one is airbrushed like an oversized t-shirt from Myrtle Beach. And then Bischoff says he's giving Hulk Hogan a third set of wheels, and how is this on TV?
Ho, ho, ho!
Fucking way, you got us a limousine?
And then on the 7th day of this episode of Nitro, Hulk Hogan's true love gives to him, literally down on one knee,
With this ring,
Hi, Ross. Take the Emily. Take the
Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
a replica ring of the WCW Championship. And so Bischoff is proposing, and I would propose, that Hanukkah-long segments like this might just be the reason that this was one of the last times WCW won the ratings.
it's a wonderful life being with you.
Love you.
But don't blow out the candles on that monotonous menorah just yet, sports fan, because one of Hank Hill's neighbors comes out with one final present for the Hulkster, little good boy, this year.
You shouldn't have.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done any of this. And finally, on the 12th day of Hulkmas, Hollywood opens up his final gift.
Our pets' heads are falling off.
have a real feast for the eyes here. First of all, it appears that we're in the woods, and our first competitor, whose name we don't ever get, has made some investments. We can see from his outfit that he's very serious about backyard wrestling. That's the benefit about being a backyard wrestler in your mid to late 40s. You got that income, baby. We got the patent pleather costume boots. We've got the cargo pants. We've got the tucked in green tank top to simulate the wrestling singlet. My man is one chain wallet away from his parents just not understanding him, man.
How's it feel to have a wacko for a son?
What really brings together but also completely throws off the whole ensemble here is the Australian flag for some reason. You've heard of the crocodile hunter? My man is the crocodile
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
We gotta look at our referee here too. My man's wearing zebra bed sheets. Which member of the Manson family was this referee again? We can't hear the ring announcer say the opponent's name at first.
Till that rotten. Did he say rotten Dotton?
He didn't. I didn't hear the ring announcer either, but I promise you he did not say Rotten Dotton. We finally do hear that it's Retro Donnie Rotten, but we have to look around here first. This is the only view we get of the people in the audience, both of them. We got a guy coming out of the weeds who definitely just took a piss. Someone left the shed open. There's a fellow down front who is working hard on a first date. My man is dancing. And we can confirm that this match did take place at the Conjuring House.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Retro Donnie Rotten makes his way out of the overgrown weeds and is accompanied by a woman whose name has to be Linda. And again, we don't know the opponent in the ring's name, so let's just call him Australia Doug.
Do it, Doug!
During Rotten Dotton's entrance, Australia Doug is just yelling about how he's like the former backyard champion and all this. Linda tells him to stop running his mouth, to which Australia Doug retorts,
And afterwards, you'll run your mouth on me. All right, hun?
and then she accepts.
Let's do it.
So far, everyone in this video is a bad guy except for front row first date Danny and the cameraman wearing the Hakuna Matata shirt. We start out with some buttery, velvety, just like a puppy dog ear, smooth chain wrestling that ends, of course, in a stalemate. As the last 20 seconds of intense action have left both of our competitors sucking so much wind that the trees around ringside are gonna have to text their girlfriend and say they gotta pull a double and work over.
I can pull my hair every time he does that.
What here?
Linda slaps Australia Doug in the face, who is 100% for real not ready for it. That's where I know Rotten Dotton from. He was the dad on Titus. Rotten Dotton then steals my cousin's finisher from 4th grade.
Jesus Christ,
that's a knife.
And here we go. Here's the major conflict of the whole piece here, because Rotten Dotton wants a figure 4. Australia Doug, for real, doesn't want it. He does not want this. He apparently has a pre-existing knee condition. So Doug starts hauling up and kicking Rotten Dotton in the ass as hard as he can. I do want to warn you, sports fan, this next part is disgusting.
That's why I love Nestle Crunch.
Retro Dotton Donnie Rotten successfully puts Australia Doug in a for-real figure 4 leg lock. Australia Doug does the only thing he can do, which is absolutely no sell the hold and start yelling and cussing and punching at Donnie.
One, two.
Doug is forced to give up out of frustration. Rotten Dotton done gotten what he came for, which is the W. What happens next is incredibly unprofessional and flies in the face of the time-honored tradition of backyard fake sports.
Oh! Dude, what the fuck?
You kicked me in the fucking face, dude?
Yup. Retro Ronnie Dotton Rotten then summarizes this entire video in one sentence.
Let's fucking play wrestle.
Do not try any of this at home. If you want to try wrestling or something, that's up to you, but don't try this.
That's a knife.
The Road Warriors are most definitely the coolest tag team that's ever existed and equally terrifying. They're both sadly passed away, but I'm still just as afraid of them as I was when I was like 7.
There's one part of our bodies that suck, and it ain't soft all the time.
But in the mid-'80s, they made their debut for All Japan Pro Wrestling, and we got a little bit more of their lore, a little bit more of their backstory. For instance, I bet you didn't know that both of the Road Warriors are from space. I did take the liberty of having this Japanese video translated. 1.2 billion years away from Earth, a small star exploded, and these two beings who travel faster than light, which by the way is impossible, set their sights on Earth, and their names, according to this, just happened to be Atrocious Animal and Inhumane Hawk. Rock over London, rock over Paris. Whew, I am very glad that the Road Warriors did not do 9/11. Then these two evil, diabolical beings took the form of CrossFit dads picking their kids up from hockey practice. I have a warning for the next bit. It is graphic. And no, I'm not talking about the dead deer they used for this video and just absolutely slathered with ragu. I'm talking about the unnecessarily extreme close-ups of Animal and Hawk's disgusting tongues and lips. Hey, Hawk. How do you like your deer cooked?
Well,
hey lady, you got a napkin? I like that Animal would only do the simulated licking of spaghetti sauce off of Hawk's fingers. We're not going all the way for this one. Mom, I threw up.
Hey, give me a fucking towel.
And being aliens, Hawk and Animal don't understand how cars work, and I'm not convinced that this scene wasn't just an excuse to get a 2-shot at them cakes. They yank the driver out of the car, who dies immediately. And these aliens are different. These aliens know how to drive Earth cars. Months later, according to the transcript, even though Hawk and Animal sold the car and traded their satin jackets for some really sweet studded necklaces, they're starving. There's no food. They can't find any food. They've cleaned out all the local Arby's. Out of options, out of money. Where do they go? Where anyone would go. The dump.
Hi, Dad. How are you?
And this is the remains of a building they've just consumed. Animal preferred the cotton candy in the walls. Hawk then finds a bottle of Tabasco, and because Animal's parents are divorced and his mom is never home because she's always out with her boyfriend Gary at the bowling alley, there's no one there to stop him.
It's too late for me. I'm awake now.
Hawk also politely does reveal the label of the hot sauce just for some brand placement, and he gives it to Animal, who promptly yeets it across the parking lot because, let's face it, All Japan Pro Wrestling is not paying enough for this. The two boys are then greeted by young Santa, who's actually Paul Ellering, who just finished choking that chicken around the corner. And this part is just ill-advised.
Got me a chicken infection.
Did you get the picture yet? Hawk throws a chicken and it explodes. And the narrator tells us that the triangle of evil is now complete. But at a local gym, there have been some increasingly strange odors and smells wafting through, and some heat radiating from behind a door.
I said don't disturb you, I'm cleaning my room!
Turns out Paul Ellering took the boys inside the hyperbolic time chamber to train and get 12 times more powerful because they want to take over professional wrestling. That's right. Entities from 1.2 billion light years away have decided to come to Earth and take over sports entertainment. Paul Ellering then draws a racist caricature on the wall and writes Japan, which prompts Animal to summarize this entire video, which has up till now been the ultimate demonstration and proof of masculinity. And the ultimate show of masculinity is, of course, punching drywall.
Chicken infection.
You talking about chocolate brown?
Worth noting that Dusty Rhodes is in fact on my own personal Mount Rushmore.
Oh, are they?
Thank God you're here.
That is not a young Linda McMahon. That is actually a young Bobby the Brain Heenan's wife, Cynthia. We already talked about how Dusty liked to jiggle around, and we're about to find out a lot more about Cynthia's movements.
It's down there somewhere. Let me take another look.
Why is Dusty so sweaty?
Oh, here come the meat sweats.
Dusty says that he's there to fix the toilet and asks, is it ring-a-ringin'? Is it ring-a-dingin', daddy?
Hey, ding. A ding, a ding.
He then asks if the water is crystal clear.
It's bad. Dark, dark brown.
Dusty then inquires whether or not the water is it chocolate brown? No, I'd say it's more of a cardboard brown.
You gonna diss me, boy? Diss me to my face.
Dusty is far too comfortable with his plunger and has it millimeters away from Cynthia's face. Dusty is then, of course, sure to check out her ass on the way to the bathroom. Warning, this is a poop alert.
Wow, we got a mess here. Look at this barbecue.
That's a rough day in the old office chair. Dusty leans down and then tries to actually discern the individual things that she might have eaten. Dusty says, you don't want to see this, darling. You're too pretty to be in here.
I got to do a potty bypass.
And of course, on the wall of the bathroom is a picture of the man in brown.
Hello, I'm Johnny.
Doo-doo.
And as the door closes, she does give the requisite, oh, brother, it's business time. Time has passed, and Dusty is now asking her to open the door.
Honey, open door.
Dusty then carries out the entire toilet from the bathroom, and we notice that he's left his mark. He got his chocolate doo-doo jello pudding fingers pumpkin head all over the vicinity, daddy. He then proclaims he has performed the world's first
triple potty bypass,
and then says that the clog was 43 pounds. Dusty then accidentally breaks the toilet on the floor.
Don't want to break it, baby.
But he's not done yet. He's got some cosmetic surgery daddy to do in there, baby. He then proceeds to put his doo-doo fingers directly onto his own lips. Dusty calls her in because he is now finished installing her brand new pride and joy, if you will. He says, you're not gonna need no tidy bowl anymore. You're not gonna need no janitor in the drawer. There is no honor among thieves. You're not gonna need no Drano, if you will.
Is it ringing? Is it dinging?
Click that handle, young lady, and let's hear it a-singing.
Woo-hoo, you in business.
And we all know the moral of this one. If your toilet's not a singer, if you got chocolate brown, ooh, if you will, on your finger, American Dream's motto is always true.
Doo-doo is good for me, and doo-doo is good for you.
Man, please, come here for a second. What's that say?
In 1999, WCW was an unmitigated disaster. That's it. That's the setup. Leading up to spring break, WCW was doing a spring breakout tour, and in an episode of Nitro that started out with the first hour having no wrestling in it whatsoever, we hopped to a video where Marcus, Buff Bagwell, and the Big Bad Booty Daddy Scott Steiner, are driving a Hummer limo, not riding in the back, driving. And on a personal note, I did once have Buff Bagwell travel with me to a show in Ohio forever ago, decades ago at this point, and he was a super nice guy, but we were very late because of him. And for the record, when he went in to pay for the gas, he came out with a 6-pack of Tall Boys, chugged one of them, and put the empty can under my seat. Nice guy, though. So driving erratically in such an ugly car does get them pulled over.
Oh, no.
But not by Boston's finest, but by Boston's available.
Scotty, I know a lot of cops in Boston. I think we're cool.
One of the cops asks Scott Steiner for his license, and Scott Steiner tells him that
License plates in the back of the okay.
The cops, of course, immediately recognize. I'm sure the hideous rap on the Hummer was a bit of a hint.
That's Buff Bagwell. That's Big Papa Pump. Yeah.
The cops didn't have an idea. The captain says, listen, we can give these guys tickets, or we could give them ticket books and send them out to do some good police work.
Have you seen this boy?
Which is implied that good police work is just writing a bunch of tickets.
Littering and...
And we have a game of bad cop, worst cop here, because the other guy's like, listen, you got two choices, Pally.
I got a flash for you, Joy Boy.
You guys can either come downtown with me, or you can go out and take these badges and write a bunch of tickets to strangers.
But you put on a pair of shoes when you walk into the New York Public Library, fella.
And then the captain, in a thick Boston accent, decides to recognize Scott Steiner's thick...
You got a beautiful hat on.
Okay, freeze. This woman has never smoked a cigarette in her life. Like, I've never seen... This is what would happen if an alien came down and entered into a human body and we handed it a cigarette. And they'd be like, what?
Come here for a second. What's that say?
Big Papa Pump has a police badge on his hat, but Buff Bagwell only gets a shiny sticker. I think they give that to you if you eat all your food at Shoney's. Buffet detective. Despite her protestations, they give her a ticket for smoking in public.
You do the crime, you better pay the fine.
We crash cut to an expired parking meter where they're waiting for a criminal.
You want to be Starsky or you want to be Hutch?
But the real question is...
Now, what did you see?
I told you, I don't remember.
Who had the egg salad?
I don't remember.
Somebody ordered it.
You can't expect us to buy that.
But I already paid for it.
Not that. The real question is...
Who are you and how did you get in here?
I'm the locksmith. And I'm the locksmith.
No.
Cigarette?
Yes, it is.
Forget it. The guy then tells the boys that he had no change for the meter and therefore, like, hey, double jeopardy, problem solved, I don't know. To which the boys do what any 1970s high school football players would do. They grab him by the ankles and turn him upside down. And half of a laundromat full of change falls out of the guy.
You're stealing from the system, boy.
This'll help.
I still don't think I should tell you.
You spot me at 20? How about now?
All right.
Hutch!
Entrapment! Steiner then proceeds to immediately get their names mixed up.
That's Starsky, I'm Hutch.
They end up giving this guy a ticket for littering even though he was trying to throw something away in the trash can. But the bigger story here is life was way more fun pre 9/11 because you could just go around at the airport.
Donations to the Reverend Moon?
Juice for Jesus.
And apparently the boys have written enough tickets to get out of the ticket that they would have gotten for riding around in an ugly limo. And they are subsequently relieved of their duties as one of the police officers watches longingly as the loves of his life walk out the door forever. And this is obviously a wild abuse of power by the police. Surely there's going to be an internal investigation that's going to take this seriously.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Huh?
And I'm gonna, hey, where do you want to land, Repo Man?
In the early 90s, Barry Darso, who is incidentally in real life a wonderful guy, he was tiptoeing around the WWF using the old 5-finger discount on anything he could get his grubby little hands on. He was the Repo Man. And it's no secret that the Macho Man Randy Savage has extravagant, expensive outfits, but he was actually, and this is the storyline, late on his payments for one of his hats.
I declare...
Your mustache is crooked.
So the Repo Man did what I'm sure every debt collector would like to do. And I don't know what possessed the Macho Man to spend so much money on hats, but that hat in particular was repossessed.
This scary black bar is
Your mustache is crooked.
And outside of the building, the Repo Man does confirm our gravest fears.
He was late on the payments on his hat.
Repo Man also adds that the Macho Man
Never paid any attention to me, but now he is.
Which adds a new wrinkle to this whole situation, which is your classic, typical story. Lesson 1 in the Repo game, kid, is don't fall in love with the Macho Man. Repo Man then confirms that he is reveling in this fantasy.
Hey, when I hit you from behind,
But more importantly than all that,
I have your hat.
nonetheless, the Macho Man does seem willing to give Repo Man a fair chance.
We're gonna have a date, don't be late.
Repo Man then gets really deep and reveals why most men act the way they do.
I got your attention.
Drunk with power from repossessing the Macho Man's rent-to-own hat.
Genuine ostrich. 3 payments.
As most things happen in pro wrestling, we gotta settle this in the ring. It's the only way. And Repo Man's just having like way too much fun with his hat. Randy Savage then beats Repo Man's arrears all over New York, Manhattan until we run into this little gym.
The hook.
Oh, wait a minute, look at this.
Apparently even Macho Man's timing was repossessed. Repo Man beats up Randy for a while. Randy puts Repo Man in missionary for a while. One thing that cannot ever be repossessed is Macho Man's incredibly real elbow drop.
Yeah!
Randy Savage wins, gets his hat back, and has all of his remaining payments canceled. Just kidding. Everything you own really belongs to the banks. Bye.
Your mustache is crooked!
In the spring of 1992, a very ominous message came across the WWF airwaves.
Another day closer to getting out of here, boss man.
And I haven't counted the syllables, but I don't think that's a haiku. And that video provides more questions than answers, sports fan. Not the least of which, how they film it. They're in prison. These prison guards today, they're letting these guys get away with anything. They've got phones, drugs, they're filming pro wrestling vignettes.
Jail is fun.
But the next week we get more info because we get another video, and this time the stock footage tells us,
Said I'd do hard time, boss man. You're gonna pay.
Sports fan, this one's getting a little too spooky. The Big Boss Man was a fantastic wrestler who in the late 80s and early 90s served as the World Wrestling Federation's Southern Justice.
Daddy, my zipper's stuck.
Most notably, the Big Boss Man has the most, I don't know, I give up, who cares anyway, name in wrestling history. Okay, so he's a prison guard. So, and he's big. He's a big guy, large guy. So, let's make a list. Big, boss, he's a man. Big Boss Man, can we live with that? During one of Big Boss Man's matches, the convict comes running through the crowd. And before I show him to you, I want you to picture this guy in your head first. What do we know about him? We know he's got a big, deep, scary voice. We know some of his story. He was in prison. He couldn't have done something nice. Close your eyes and get a picture in your head, okay? And if you are picturing Jeff Daniels from Newsroom, you're picturing correctly.
Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom.
That's gotta be him! That's gotta be him!
Yeah, what gave it away, Vince? The actual prison uniform? Turns out his name is Nails with a Z. And he's brought his pumpkin pie haircut to the WWF for some reverse justice. I've always heard reverse justice feels better for the lady.
I'll tell you one thing, though, when I have sex with my wife, it's like magic. As soon as I get in bed, she disappears.
And the story goes that while he was imprisoned, the Big Boss Man working as a guard apparently routinely abused Nails. And we're supposed to root for the Boss Man. So then Dave Coulier beats up the Big Boss Man for 16 or 17 years and then leaves with Boss Man's hand props. Unfortunately, his voice modulation doesn't work as well for the live audience, and we're getting some little double voice going.
We gave this guy several chances to express himself.
Excuse me. And he failed to do it. So what we're going to have to do now is obviously have a fight about it.
What do you want to do, huh? What do you want to do?
Well, Big Boss Man needs his nightstick back or he's going to lose his deposit. So let's put it up on a pole and have a wrestle. Nails walks like he's been at Disney World all week and he's got a massive rash between his thighs, but he kind of doesn't want to say anything to anyone, just trying to play it cool and get through the week. And Big Boss Man wants to make sure that he's standing up for qualified immunity. We then find out that Nails did a 2,478-day prison sentence, which is either 7 or 70 years, depending on if I did the math right. Boss Man bumps his pretty little ass off while Nails stumbles around like he's sleepwalking. Big Boss Man gets the nightstick but drops it. Nails then stands there and does the why I oughta punch the palm thing. Instead of hitting the Big Boss Man has enough time, capitalizes, and wins the match.
That was just another case of misjustice.
Oh, buddy, you're telling me.
I promise I'll get you next time, boss man.
Gary Coleman.
You know what?
what? You set me up, you bastard.
Mike Awesome was a ruthless competitor from ECW who made his way for probably much more money to WCW, where they promptly completely killed his gimmick and made him that 70s guy, Mike Awesome. Probably because he had kind of a mullet.
Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you.
They even gave him his own segment called the Lava Lamp Lounge, and the first episode of which started with a phrase that men only generally say when they're very comfortable with their sexuality.
Now everybody knows I love the ladies.
He adds that big, tall, large or small.
Well, there's enough vitamin A to go around for everyone.
A gross. And if you look around at the set, they really spared no expense. Mike Awesome spent the vast majority of the Spencer's gift card that his mom got him.
Ooh! Do I make you horny?
Mike Awesome then introduces his guest, which is a co-host of Nitro named Pamela Paulshock, but he calls her
Paula Paulshock!
And not to make light of Mike Awesome and his ultimate real-life demise, but that pretty major slip-up makes a lot more sense when you consider that 70s guy then shows us just how slick he is with the fairer sex.
Alright.
As smooth as his velvet blacklight poster.
Oh, groovy, baby.
Oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby.
Since that 70s guy can't seem to remember her that 70s name, she says he can just call her...
Or you can call me Double P since we're friends.
Double P. I feel like I'm not going to do that. Mike Awesome then starts with the hard-hitting questions.
The guys in WCW, do they hit up on you all the time or what?
You remember that? Yes.
Then Double J Jeff Jarrett saves the segment by moving Double P aside and hitting Single Mike with a double G. It's just one guitar. The next week, That 70s Guy debuts That 70s Bus, and I'm already that 70s fucking sick of this. Mike Awesome seeks his revenge and runs out and takes advantage of a handcuffed Jeff Jarrett by missing a top rope clothesline.
Happy birthday, dumbass.
But then, tragedy strikes.
His bus.
Oh my gosh! What happened?
We'll have to ignore that passionate acting because we have something urgent. That 70s Insane Clown Posse have That 70s vandalized That 70s bus. And I only have one That 70s thing to say about it.
Whoop, whoop.
The Insane Clown Posse hits the ring to make the challenge. And on a personal note, and I swear to Fago this is true, Violent J once sent me an enormous text message of an idea that he had while I was at the Tyrannosaurus Rex from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's a semi-charmed kind of life. Jay then, very That 70s politically correctly, challenges That 70s guy.
We're challenging you and that hard bus of yours.
That's right, it's ICP versus Mike Awesome and the bus.
No yelling on the bus!
And what will sadly end up being prophetic, Violent J then proclaims that the loser of this match will be leaving in a wheelchair. Mike Awesome starts out the festivities with a fire extinguisher out the bus door, but then ICP heard that Mike Awesome could still remember part of 3rd grade. So they took care of that. The fight inevitably makes its way, as most street fights are wont to do, to the roof of a bus. That 70s guy then performs a That 70s awesome bomb on the roof of the bus on That 70s Shaggy 2-Dope.
Awesome bomb! Not an awesome bomb on that 70s!
But the roof of the bus must have been slathered in That 70s I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. And Shaggy 2-Dope goes into That 70s Traction.
Just remember, if you hang in there long enough.
Whoop, whoop.
That 70s got nothing. Mean Gene Okerlund is set to meet the Doctor of Style Slick, a manager who has a brand new character that he'd like to debut.
He was going to take me to deepest, darkest Africa.
We're off to a bad start.
Gee!
Slick walks up carrying a boombox that isn't playing anything. Slick then says he didn't bring Mean Gene to Africa, but he's bringing Africa to Mean Gene. And I'm thinking about bringing this episode to the recycle bin.
How'd you like one across your lips?
Slick tells us that tonight we are going to witness a startling transformation. And so far we've got the startling part. But for the transformation, all he has to do is change tapes in his boombox.
cannot believe this.
Everyone starts dancing around to a sort of tribal drum beat.
I'll re-up my subscription to National Geographic.
Sports fan, please don't update your subscription to this channel. Finally, at long last, we get the transformation.
Behold!
You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey.
We are presented with Akeem, the African Dream.
I recognize this man as the one-man gang.
Yes, that's the one-man gang, but he claims he has been reborn. And I have one question. Well, I have a lot of questions, but the first question I have is, who is this for?
We ain't found shit.
And I suppose Akeem starts dancing, but it looks more like somebody thought it would be funny to put Dad on the hoverboard they got for Christmas. Everyone then dances away, and Mean Gene Okerlund says he wants a cab. I'll split it with you. Later, Slick insists that Akeem is a brother.
The only difference between me and him is that he's medium rare and I'm well done.
I'll take mine to go, please.
Right, you right on, brother.
Stop.
Brothers and foxy mamas.
Who is he trying to sound like? Nobody talks like that.
I speak jive.
Oh. You don't. We may as well see Akeem in action in the ring, most of which he spends doing what he would probably call dancing. On this show, we have a different name for it. We call it Happy Birthday Grandma-ing.
Happy birthday, Grandma. You rock so much.
It turns out Akeem's greatest moment would also be the last time anyone ever saw him alive. Tagging with the Big Boss Man against Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, oh yeah, Akeem and Boss Man attempt a double splash, but Akeem slipped through the sweaty ropes and jive turkeyed his way to a concussion. And just like Gilligan's Island, Akeem got hit with a coconut and then got amnesia and a really weird personality and then got head trauma again at the end of the episode and was back to normal. Back to the one-man gang. Why? Because fuck the fans. We got their money.
You just coined the phrase.
I'm gonna have to ask you to put your hands in front of you. Oh, no. We'll have to take you down to the station.
We used to think that the year 2000 would be a futuristic utopia. But for WCW, the year 2000 was like that part in a wedding where they ask if anybody has any objections or forever hold your peace, but everybody stood up.
I hate you!
On September 11th, 2000, which I mention only because I will never forget Ric Flair's tragically gelled hair.
Is that a hair gel?
Ric's son, David Flair, was in a relationship with Stacy Keibler, then known as Miss Hancock. And she was known as Miss Hancock on account of dicks, right, guys? Their relationship led to a pregnancy and was about to culminate in a marriage. During the proceedings, Ric Flair gets arrested. Then the show goes to commercial, and then we get right back to the wedding.
Why this couple should not be united in marriage. They must speak now.
Stacy Keibler then raises her hand like it's geometry class and can't twist the microphone out of the stand, but that's not the twist. Oh, she's pregnant, all right.
You're not the father.
Stacy Keibler leaves and David Flair's mind breaks.
Wanna know how I got these hair gel?
Mike Tenay pays a home visit to David Flair the next week, mostly to check up on the progress of David's acting class.
What do you want, Tenay?
How do I act so well?
Mike Tenay is there to ask the one burning question, what's it feel like to have your entire life ruined on live television?
David, what are you doing? I know you don't smoke.
He's dirty, he's paranoid, he's losing his mind trying to figure out who the real father of the baby might be. The mailman arrives, David Flair runs outside, excited to practice his new moves from wrestling school, and puts the mailman in a figure 4 leg lock on the front lawn.
David, the mailman! David!
Breaks the man's leg and then stands up and just runs off into the distance.
Hair gel?
David spends the next couple of weeks on the hunt for the real father, and apparently his lead suspect is Charles Entertainment Cheese.
Sir, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, sir.
Getting nowhere, David Flair then decides to look for the father in the ball pit.
Oh, he's in the ball pit. He's in the ball pit.
Jasper T. Jowls could not be reached for comment.
I am not the monster. No, I'm just the head of the
hair gel?
The next week, David Flair has apparently abducted someone Taliban style. He takes them down to the ring, of course, because that's where all serious personal business gets dealt with. For some reason unknown to me, David Flair decides to uncuff this man and turn his back to them. And it turns out to be
These people and everybody else.
Buff Bagwell. David Flair then issues a challenge.
I want Buff Bagwell in a DNA match.
A DNA match. What is it? The concerning part for me is there are lots of different things that has your DNA in it.
What are all those stains? Blood, urine, or semen? Oh, God, I hope it's urine.
At the pay-per-view, David Flair has brought his own doctors to apparently test the DNA as soon as he gets it. In order to win the match, you have to make your opponent bleed. And if David Flair can make Buff Bagwell bleed, then he gets to collect his blood and have doctors test it to see if Buff Bagwell is the father of Stacy Keibler's baby. But David loses. But lucky for us, for no reason whatsoever, Lex Luger comes out and hits Buff Bagwell and gives him just enough time to insert a blood capsule, pop it with his teeth, and spit some of it out of his mouth. So David Flair can stumble over, collect it into a little jar, and hobble it back to the doctors. David Flair comes out with the results of the DNA test. Turns out he's 100% a bitch. After testing, the lab confirms with 99% accuracy that Marcus Alexander Buff Bagwell
Is not the father of the baby. Whoa!
So who is? Well, don't worry, sports fan, because we have a very, very satisfying conclusion right here. Several weeks later, Stacy Keibler finally reveals that the father is
Mrs. Cartman.
nobody, because she says she was not pregnant and it was all a lie the whole time.
Nothing. Life lesson? Some tasks are not worth doing.
So you're the man that rules the world.
In 1993, WCW gave Ric Flair a talk show for some reason. Sting and the British Bulldog just bought matching jackets and wanted to come out and show everybody. But more importantly, they had a double cage 8-man, 2-ring War Games match coming up, and they needed one more partner. Sid Vicious, who of course is probably most notable for having the most ramen noodle hair, but they've been building this up for a while. They've had a mystery partner that they haven't revealed, and everyone's getting really excited, and maybe it's the Ultimate Warrior.
It wasn't.
I don't know, but we're all primed for a surprise, and we won't be disappointed.
But that too turned out to be a lie.
This segment kind of falls apart before it even gets started because everyone's just kind of talking over top of each other. It does appear that most of them got an associate's degree at Ole Anderson School for Television Presentation by keeping their backs firmly toward the camera. Sting finally gets a word in edgewise.
All I have to say is,
and announces that
our partner is going to shock the world.
Oh man, it probably is the Ultimate Warrior.
They didn't, and he doesn't.
The Shockmaster!
Who? Well, at least maybe he has a cool entrance or something. No, you didn't, Sid. Sid, you're telling me that you sat backstage and said a large man with a bedazzled stormtrooper helmet was gonna cut the sleeves off of a trash bag and fall through drywall? That's what you said was gonna, that's what you told everybody was gonna happen?
You sure about that? You sure about that?
That's Fred Ottman, formerly known as Tugboat, who is incidentally a wonderfully kind gentleman. And this was 0% his fault. So this is a disaster, but maybe he at least sounds cool.
They call me the Shockmaster.
It's really hard to be positive sometimes. Okay, now that the smoke is cleared, maybe there's a reasonable explanation for all of this. Tony Schiavone meets with the man who shocked the world to try to get some answers in a sit-down interview.
He was sitting down. Good.
Having the first look at Unmasked Shockmaster be him squeezing ketchup onto a hamburger is a wild flex. And they mentioned that Shockmaster is on his lunch break from work. So it turns out being a member of Team Sting's WCW War Games 1993 team isn't even a full-time job. So what happened? The Shockmaster says,
I'm waiting out. There's millions of people. I know it's going in my head. My hands are sweating. I got goosebumps.
His hands were sweaty. Vomit on his Stormtrooper helmet already. His explanation is that he heard the announcement but couldn't find the door to get onto the stage, so he just busted through a wall.
What? Oh, man. Hey, you know.
But he's still fiercely determined.
I may not be the most graceful person in the world, you know.
And he adds,
and I'm real hungry.
Get this man a cheeseburger and a bottle of ketchup. But he can't seem to stay on track.
Man, I love kids, man.
Okay, but
I like comic books, you know.
Understood, but War Games...
Man, I watch them all. Bugs Bunny, you know, the Roadrunner. Beep, beep.
Okay. Either way, it seems the Shockmaster has learned his lesson, and he's going to pay attention and be more careful.
Well, you see, there's schlemiels and schlemazels. A schlemiel is a guy who goes to a formal dinner party and spills his soup. A schlemazel's the
Shockmaster!
I told you. Oh, God.
Jake the Snake Robert.
In the late 1980s, ravishing Rick Rude was the most man. He would prove this by winning his matches and then randomly selecting a beautiful woman from the audience, inviting them in and allowing them to touch his mustache with their lips. But one week, something happened to Rick Rude that had never happened before. A woman wouldn't do what he wanted.
I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
Because back then, everyone was legally obligated to smell Rick Rude's mustache if requested.
Reaganomics.
But turns out Rick Rude's kink seemed to be women who abhor him.
I love it.
Rick Rude proceeded to objectify the woman for a while.
I think this is demeaning myself.
Oh, really, Vince? Do you? Do you think that? Is that what you really think, Vince? Do you think that?
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Rick Rude says that he knows she's there to see him, and she says that he's wrong. And this kid is really nervous.
Come on, lady, just say you are. It's the law.
Further tempting fate, when Rick Rude asks her if he is the sexiest man in the WWF, she says,
No.
Don't do that, that's 5 to 10.
The woman then says she's actually there to see her husband.
Jake the Snake Robert.
And instead of getting therapy, Rick Rude then says that she, her husband, and her entire family
isn't worth 2 cents.
She slaps him, but then immediately realizes that such an act could land her on the wall. Jake the Snake then runs out because he is in a committed relationship.
Then 2 at a time, then 2 at a time with toys, then 2 at a time with I'll just watch. You go home and try to make love to your wife. Ain't no way.
And a very great pull apart ensues, and this angle is off the ground.
Those ducks. Quack.
At SummerSlam 1988, Rick Rude pulled down his pants to reveal other pants that had Jake the Snake Roberts' wife, Cheryl, emblazoned on his butt and front part.
Scientific term.
And Jake lost it.
That's my wife you're talking about.
Jake the Snake then offers a stark warning if Rick Rude ever wears those tights again.
I'm gonna take them off of you.
Ooh, promise? But because you can't tell him what to do, Dad, Rick Rude...
Turn his tights on. Oh!
Jake the Snake had no choice but to go out on national television and rip the pants off of another guy.
Right on Cheryl. Oh, no! Whoa!
And then, to prove that it was no big deal... But they also brought something for Rick Rude to wear instead.
A fig leaf for little Rick.
This is a kid's show, right? Obviously, we have to have a fight about this. And the match is really great, so we're gonna skip it. Jake knocks out Rick Rude and starts to pull off his pants, as promised. Andre the Giant then comes out to help Rick Rude, but Andre the Giant is scared of snakes. Andre the Giant passes out. Everyone goes home. Jake and Cheryl get divorced. Merry Cringemas.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should
flat tire, you could have at least given us a telephone call.
In the early 1990s, WCW hired former Golden Gloves boxer, I didn't look it up, Mark Marrow. And Dusty Rhodes said something like, "Ooh, you look like Little Richard. We're going to call you Johnny B. Bad." And that's that.
Listen, when I started, woo, wasn't nobody saying that.
1 week, Johnny B. Bad earned a match against Sting, who was the United States champion at the time. But as the show was going on, Johnny B. Bad just wasn't there, not showing up. Diamond Dallas Page, who at the time was the television champion, did have the de facto #1 contendership for Sting's belt, and very suspiciously mentioned this more than once.
The #1 contender to the U.S. strap.
So Sting had someone else fill in for the match and successfully defended his title, and Johnny B. Bad finally shows up at the end of the show. Something's fishy. Something stinks, and it's not just DDP's beard, probably.
Gene, I had car trouble. I had a flat tire.
Feels easily avoidable. Like, one, just call. Just call somebody. I know it's the 90s and you probably don't have a cell phone, but the payphones are everywhere.
Wait a minute, if you had a flat tire, you could have at least given us a telephone call, John.
This segment really just highlights Johnny B. Bad's irresponsibility. DDP then comes out.
You are so stupid.
I kind of agree.
Nothing could be my farther from the truth.
Think I would have missed this match and have an opportunity to prove the Sting?
No, I didn't.
Johnny B. Bad said he was most looking forward to proving himself to Sting, which is a weird thing to say.
Daddy didn't love me.
But we haven't heard from Max, Diamond Dallas Page's bodyguard and resident muscle-bound jerk.
What did you call him? A muscle-bound jerk? Huh? He's not. He's a nitwit, but he's no muscle-bound jerk.
Enough.
Yeah, it is pretty tough getting here with 4 flat tires, ain't it, Dallas?
Wait, what?
Wait! How did you know it was 4 flat tires?
How many flat tires you say you had, John?
I said 8 flat tires!
So it looks like Diamond Dallas Page had love muscles slash all 4 of Johnny B. Bad's tires so that he couldn't make his title match.
Oh, no! What a punch!
Well, I never. We're definitely going to have a fight about this.
You understand me? I may not like it, but I ain't got to buy it.
One thing I didn't mention, and you maybe already know, Johnny B. Bad comes to the ring with a confetti cannon.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself. They're all certifiably insane.
DDP hits JBB with the BELT, and the Diamond Doll is disgusted.
He's been disqualified. What does he call it?
Oh, please. Oh, it gets worse and worse.
So now we have to have a fight about the fight. So at Halloween Havoc, MM follows DDP accompanied by DD, who is unhappy because DDP stole JBB's CC. OMG. Johnny B. Bad beats up DDP a lot, and there just happens to be an old-timey bucket at ringside for some reason.
And that's a nice...
The Diamond Doll then looks sad every time DDP makes her cheer for him, and then she looks happy when he's losing. I bet they're still married.
It's false. No way. Not this time.
Johnny B. Bad does a bunch of cool moves, wins the belt, but more importantly, Diamond Doll's heart. And it just goes to show that the old saying holds true.
And what on earth are you people doing watching this piece of shit?
Anytime you hop into the year 2000 WCW, it is incredibly confusing because what is going on? We have Chris Kanyon cosplaying as Diamond Dallas Page, and he keeps attacking Buff Bagwell, but Buff Bagwell's mother is there for some reason, and her name's Judy, and she's in a neck brace on account of Kanyon. And in a classic escalation that happens all the time in professional sports, Chris Kanyon decides to abduct Buff Bagwell's mother by putting her in the trunk of his car. Perfectly normal, perfectly healthy. The next week, it seems that Judy Bagwell has escaped and Chris Kanyon has a black eye, neither of which are explained.
You wouldn't understand, bro.
Chris Kanyon hits the ring, followed shortly after by Judy Bagwell, who gets an intricate pyrotechnic display behind her, and I cannot imagine why this company went out of business.
Snake eyes? Snake eyes?
Oh, no!
Chris Kanyon mentions that in the past, he has hit Judy Bagwell with his finisher two times, but tonight, he's going to do it a third time, but this time, it's for real. Riveting. No! So Judy Bagwell kicks Chris Kanyon in the dick, and the referee rings the bell, and apparently, this is a match now.
I'm ruined!
Canyon then shoves Judy Bagwell off of him, and her head bounces off the mat so hard even her broccoli haircut couldn't save her. Buff Bagwell, who apparently has been watching the whole time, has now decided that, okay, that's enough. That's too far. But Buff can't get in the ring because Canyon's threatening to
break her neck.
And is it possible for something to seem too real and too fake at the same time?
Back him up. I'm gonna break it.
Canyon says he will only let Buff Bagwell's mother out of this headlock if Buff Bagwell agrees to a match with him where, if Canyon wins, Canyon gets Buff Bagwell's mom.
Actually, come to think of it, I've never heard of pro wrestling. Pro wrestling? No, my cousin did wrestling in high school with like the mats and everything. You're telling me they do it on TV, huh? Huh.
Let her the hell out.
Buff Bagwell, of course, agrees to the match, but then Canyon hits the diamond cutter anyway, but the cameras completely miss it, which is probably for the best. The next week, we have a mixed intergender tag match for absolutely no reason, which I am only bringing up because I want to show you when Chris Canyon punches Judy Bagwell in the neck so hard that she falls down in slow motion.
Oh, went for the neck and he nails Judy Bagwell.
Oh, we're going to have a big old fight about this one. We have Buff Bagwell versus Canyon at the pay-per-view, but as we all know, Judy Bagwell is such a formidable force, she cannot be trusted to not interfere and sway the victory of this one. So we have to get rid of her somehow. What's the easiest solution? Put her on top of a forklift, of course.
Pro wrestling on television. It's not ringing a bell.
No one seems to know the rules of this match. At least they're never expressed to anyone watching on television who actually paid money to see this. But it appears that the only way to win is to get over to the forklift and lower Judy Bagwell, who is zip-tied to the top. That's right. The only way to win is for someone to lower Buff Bagwell's mom from the top of a forklift.
Is it spelled the same way?
Not much to write home about in this one. They kind of fight around for a little while, but then, of course, as usual, film actor David Arquette shows up for some reason, most notably wearing edible pants. Apparently, David Arquette is on Canyon's team, but before he can even make it to the ring, Buff just continues the match like nothing happened, then decides to just turn his back on David Arquette. David Arquette then tries to hit Buff Bagwell and decides it's a good time to almost break his own neck. Buff Bagwell gives both gentlemen a double blockbuster and then pins Canyon and wins. So, why did we have the forklift? But I think a better point is, what's the point of anything?
I'm a dead man!
Papa Shango!
In 1992, you could put anything on television and it counted as entertainment. That freedom led the WWF to run through so many ideas that they eventually, inevitably presented voodoo. Debo? Is he saying Debo? Does this mean that everything this guy says from this moment forward is actually addressed to Debo from the movie Friday and the movie Next Friday? Probably not.
But you can imagine what it'd be like if they did, right? Huh?
It's I, Papa Shango!
So, Papa Shango.
Mama Juju Boo Boo.
He's like 6'8", wearing bones around his neck, carrying a staff with a skull on the end of it, single-handedly keeping the dry ice industry in business. I don't mind telling you, sports fan, when I was a kid, Papa Shango was literally terrifying. Not only was Papa Shango big and powerful, but he also made no qualms, had no hesitations about using his evil black magic voodoo powers. He did have a tell. You could always figure out when Papa Shango was casting a spell, because he would do that thing like in a cartoon when a fly lands on the end of someone's nose and they look at it with both eyes. What kind of powers, I know you're asking? How bad could it be? Oh, I don't know. What
is that? He started to... What?
How about maybe lighting a dude's feet on fire? Is that powerful enough for you? Papa Shango lit that guy's feet on fire to death.
The itching, the cracking, the burning. You want a medicine that acts tough. Boom!
And I know what you're thinking.
Kid, what do you know? You're just some rando guy sitting in a chair. You don't know anything about Papa Shango's true power.
Oh, really? Really? Well, dumb jock, wouldn't it make your face red if you found out that I, myself, yes, me, I was once black magic voodooed by Papa Shango himself? I hope you learned something here today. Don't ever talk to me or my son again. It wouldn't be long before Papa Shango would set his sights on the only logical target, the Ultimate Warrior.
The dead will rise!
Arise! Arise, chicken!
One time, while the Ultimate Warrior was celebrating after a hard-earned victory, Papa Shango came to ringside and, finished.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
Which gave the Ultimate Warrior an immediate tummy ache.
Oh.
The Ultimate Warrior would have to address this, of course, and he's come out wearing a jacket for the first time ever for no reason in particular, and his hands are fumbling around inside of it, and so that's kind of weird, but it's probably nothing. I bet nothing happens.
What's going on?
And the Warrior just leaves. So that's weird. Look, we have a lot of fun on this show, and we tell a lot of spooky stories sometimes. But if you're watching this and you're trying to go to bed right now or something, you don't have to worry. Everything's fine. It's just on TV and nothing.
Warrior!
The ghost of Christmas, whatever.
No, Vince. A Piper Carol. We join Ebenezer Piper having a restless night in a bed that looks like I would have a very similar experience in, when a member of a local theater troupe barges in through his balcony.
Ebenezer Piper!
It's Jacob Marley.
You're dead!
Roddy Piper obviously does not care about whatever script exists for this thing and just says whatever, whenever.
Oh, I've returned!
You died of smoking!
You know, got a little experience myself. You know, I did a little summer stock now, young fella.
Oh, you, the folly of your ways!
I swear to God, I was in a play with that guy who's playing Marley.
I'm going to do a scene from the movie Raging Bull. You fucked my wife? What?
Marley tells Piper that he's got to change his ways, and Piper just completely ignores what Marley's saying and points out how he's saying it because the dude has no accent whatsoever.
Wait a second! What part of Scotland you from? Change one!
The actor responds by trying to now have a Scottish accent, but he just sounds like Bela Lugosi.
Perhaps my three guests will show you.
Children of the night.
What part of Scotland are you from now, young fella? Marley then says he doesn't drink wine, but he has 3 friends who are going to visit Piper tonight.
I am here to scare you straight!
Roddy Piper responds by smacking the bed and saying that there are bugs.
Get out of here!
Yes.
It is worth noting at this point that Ebenezer Piper does sleep in his wrestling boots. We then hear the menacing sounds of a smoke machine being turned on, which can mean only one thing. Piper ruins the entire scene by saying, "You look like Tiny Tim's father now." But Tiny Tim, I think he's forgetting, is also a character in A Christmas Carol. Piper's really messing with the continuity of the Dickens verse.
Worlds are colliding!
This is the ghost of Christmas past, and Roddy decides to make fun of his shoes.
Hey, you look at those shoes. Are you ever past?
The ghost leaves, and then Roddy Piper tries to drink out of the pitcher, but it turns out it's full of pennies, because of course...
It's Jesus, look, it's Jesus.
The actors have now started trying to ignore Roddy Piper altogether and just plow through their lines.
Ashbury!
Your defiance
giant.
The ghost shows Roddy Piper the poor Cratchit family who work for him and how they're having such a meager, sad Christmas.
Yeah, dummy.
Marley then tells Piper that he's now bringing in the most frightening of spirits, Jägermeister. It's actually the ghost of Christmas future, to which Ebenezer Piper remarks,
Oh, you're an ugly
Roddy Piper then tries to look up the guy's gown. You don't shave your legs now, do ya? The ghost shows Ebenezer Piper his future grave, which is unmarked with no flowers. Don't lay no more flowers on my grave, man. Piper does get sad for a second, but then starts throwing pennies at him. Dracula comes back in. Ebenezer Piper rescinds his invitation.
Get out of my house. Please. Don't ever come here. Don't ever call me.
And goes back to bed.
Merry Christmas. May all your dreams come true.
Dear Santa, how are you? I'm not doing so well.
This is very, hey, how are you? And before you can answer, the person's like, well, I'm not very good, actually, coded. She tells us that the evil billionaire Ebner Frost is sending weird people.
And I think they're gonna do something really bad this Christmas.
This kid does not sweat the details. So in this letter to Santa, the little girl asks for help because Ebner Frost wants to take away the orphanage that she lives in. So much so that he's even repossessed their Christmas tree.
I hope you're really out there, Santa.
And I don't know if Santa's out there, but we smash cut to Hulk Hogan with hair.
Goo!
Somehow Hulk Hogan with hair is more unsettling than his typical riff-raff vibes. It's astounding. Hulk Hogan is seen beating up a guard, and we get our first taste of that good El Natural Hulk Hogan dialogue.
Never stop to smell the roses.
Hulk Hogan then beats up a chef, Rob Schneider, and a limo driver.
Oh, get him, lock him up.
But the numbers prove too much, and that weed whacker does not have strings in it. Turns out it was all an exercise, and Hulk Hogan is really some guy named Blake, who is also a billionaire, and this was just how he exercises. Nice of him to include the help.
Make a note, Chaz. My picture on the can isn't big enough.
So, a butler, a chef, and a limo driver walk into a bar. So we do know Hulk Hogan's name is Blake Thorne. It is kind of unclear what he does other than some sort of fitness products, but he also has Blake's rules, which everyone in the house is forced to memorize.
Here, rule number 105.
Yes, sir. Do you know what you're supposed to do if you catch on fire? Stop, drop, and roll.
Your paintballs, sir. Blake Hogan then turns down an invitation to host a fundraiser for a local children's organization and decides to go out with his buddies and ride dirt bikes through Calabasas. Blake is if Richie Rich grew up and was also bad at acting.
That about covers it.
Clint Howard notably did get a payday for this movie. He's playing the bumbling local cop who thinks that Hulk Hogan and his friends are terrorists set on paintball mode.
Give me your paint gun.
We cut to a mall, and the Santa is missing. I bet he didn't even got many muscles.
How'd you like to be dead?
Hulk Hogan ducks into the mall to hide from his paintball crimes. We overhear a conversation where one of the elves appears to owe money to the evil Mr. Frost. We find out that Frost is trying to buy up the whole town of Lakeview or Lakeville or Laketon. I don't care enough to remember. And he apparently also got a really good deal on Metallica's old fog blaster machines from the Wherever We May Roam tour. Frost wants to buy this guy's shoe store, so he sends his henchmen in to torture him into agreeing, which I don't think is legally binding. We have Mr. Flint, who is a geologist apparently on permanent safari.
You are going to make such an interesting fossil.
We have a chemist, Mr. Vile. Get it? Who is obsessed with fart gas and has a methane machine that he sprays at people. And is apparently very proud of the Billy Bob teeth he got for 2 quarters.
the electrifyingly beautiful Miss Watt.
Miss what?
Miss Watt.
Miss what?
Miss Watt.
I tell ya, I don't know what's what. Hulk Hogan then decides to hide in this abandoned Santa suit, which surprisingly works.
Ho, ho, ho.
But his cover is blown when a kid stops him, and Hulk's a total dick.
Fax me, you little brat.
I'm on my fucking lunch break, okay?
And the cops see his underwear hanging out of his pants. I'd know those camo briefs anywhere. Get him, boys. Hulk Hogan then hides in an old-timey trash chute, and in hilarious irony gets hit with a falling Santa, falls down the chute, and hits his head.
Another drunk mall Santa.
The elf who owes the money steals his wallet, but also recognizes the driver's license inside. Blake hit his head so hard that he lost his memory, but also apparently doesn't need to go to the hospital.
I really don't remember.
So the elf convinces Blake that he is Santa Claus himself, because the elf wants the $50 bonus for finding Santa. If they're not careful, he's going to hit his head too hard again and get his memory back. I've seen television. Hulk Hogan starts to slowly warm up to the children. Why does even Hulk Hogan's toupee have an unfortunate hairline? Lenny the elf tries to take Blake's credit card to the ATM and steal money, but of course it's one of those brand new fingerprint-only ATMs from 1996 that we all remember.
The way of the future.
Then two street toughs try to steal the donation jar from a sleeping lady. That money's for the orphanage. A little girl yells for Santa, who magically now not only likes kids, but also fights crimes. Hulk Hogan fends off the robbers very aggressively, then decides that he has to help out the orphanage. And the entire mall follows him out to the parking lot.
If I'm Santa, where's my sleigh?
So does he think he's Santa? He's starting to question things. Mr. Frost gets the deal from the shoe store guy, and we find out that he only needs one more property, and it just happens to be the orphanage.
Round up the troops and see if we can convince our little friends to adopt a new attitude.
We also meet Frost's main lackey, and it's cool to see what Loki was doing before Marvel. Leslie helps run the orphanage. She opens the door with apparently all of the orphans. They refuse to sell the property, and the bad guys decide to plant signs in their yard about upcoming sales at the mall and steal their statue, which every orphanage in California is legally obligated to have in the front yard. Another orphanage employee is about to get hit by the ice cream truck that the scientist bad guys are driving, but Blake stops him, to which the bad guys say,
Merry Christmas!
and leave. Then, of course, they offer Santa and Lenny a room for the night.
You can't start Christmas without me.
And it really just seems unclear if he does think he's Santa or not. Also, Mila Kunis is in this, so that's fun. Everyone's happy to see Santa, but Clayton seems suspicious.
When I saw the sign at the mall, I thought I might be needed here.
The little girl kisses Santa on the cheek. Hulk Hogan goes into some kind of weird trance that we can only assume is the Christmas spirit, dude. Weird. I look like Hulk Hogan.
Nice jammies.
Behold, Jesus Christ.
In the morning, Hulk Hogan comes out of his bedroom, but forgot his beard, dude. But just lies and says Mrs. Claus thinks the beard is itchy, so he only wears it on deliveries, which appears to be good enough for everybody. Hey, that's the title of the movie! Mila Kunis fixed Hulk Hogan's outfit, and so now he looks like a Santa stripper.
So, tell us, how did you get here?
Rooster.
And the next scene, Hulk Hogan is supposed to have a sweet moment with the little girl where they're singing a song together, but Hulk Hogan apparently couldn't be bothered to learn the lyrics.
November, December, you're so fine.
Hulk Hogan then fights the scientists again, but Taylor, one of the little orphan boys, is missing.
I think I know where he is.
Oh, you know, just based on that. You saw Taylor's headphones laying in the grass, and now I think I know where he might have gone. Hulk Hogan finds the kid, but also overhears Ed Begley Jr., Mr. Frost's evil plan. There's something underneath the orphanage and the surrounding properties that he wants to get his hands on.
What's under the orphanage?
Pizza dude's got 30 seconds.
The clubhouse.
The kids show Hulk Hogan the vault downstairs, but they only know the first 3 numbers of the 4-number combination. But Hulk Hogan knows it. This guy hit his head so hard he forgot who he is and thinks he might be Santa, but he's out here solving Scooby-Doo mysteries left and right. Apparently there are all these kind of very valuable crystals underneath the ground that are also very delicate because if they get too much vibration, they'll explode.
Okay.
Which sounds like a great thing to have in your basement in Southern California. Loki breaks into the orphanage, but then is also surprised when Hulk Hogan is there.
Where did you... But I thought that...
They have a big fight in the bell tower. Yes, this orphanage has a chapel and a bell tower.
Santa, you slay me.
Hulk Hogan wins the fight, but is knocked off of the bell tower by a mechanical Santa Claus so forcefully that he flies out into the street 30 or 40 feet and lands in a garbage truck.
The picture's still not big enough.
Hulk Hogan wakes up and he's Blake, and the whole thing was just a dream. Except it wasn't. Hulk Hogan decides to call Leslie to see how they're doing, but she apparently hates him now, but it's just the scientist using a talk boy and tricking him.
Hi, kids, we're home early.
Not surprised. There's no such thing as Santa.
Haha, excuse me, folks. When's dinner? But with Santa out of the way, the orphanage will be lost. Mr. Frost then blows the front doors off of the orphanage. Frost comes in dressed like how people grocery shopped in 2020, and then tells the kids that not only is he going to get into the vault, but he's going to make them mine it, which is just ridiculous now in the 21st century. Like a billionaire would take advantage of child labor.
You can't open it, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
Turns out cracking vaults is the only way this guy can come.
Oh, yeah.
Lenny places a sneaky call to Blake.
Lenny,
I don't know how long it's gonna be before...
Loki grabs the phone.
Remind me to introduce you to my 2 little friends.
His balls.
Lefty and righty.
The names of his balls. Hulk Hogan then declares that they now have a mission. And stop me if you've heard this one before, but a butler, a chef, a limo driver, and Hulk Hogan walk into an orphanage. Hulk Hogan and company are speeding down the streets racing to the orphanage, but get chased by Clint Howard again.
Just one?
3 Clint Howards. They dump salad dressing and protein powder out the back of the car to try to lose the cops, but they get surrounded. Oh, please, come on. In the 21st century, it would be wildly ridiculous for the cops to be so overly militarized. Hulk Hogan then dodges an actual missile. He then breaks into the orphanage, Home Alone style. Hulk immediately rescues the kids.
You're not really Santa Claus, are you?
No, I'm not. I just thought I was for a while.
Hold it. I think that's the trailer.
You're not really Santa Claus, are you?
No, I'm not. I just thought I was for a while.
Hulk and the kids then attack Mr. Methane, turn on his gas, and seal him in the suit. Yeah, Santa, kill him! But it turns out that's actually the only way this guy can come. Blake then goes to fight Miss Watt.
Miss who? Spread out.
But a wild Brutus beefcake has appeared, and we're in for one hell of a match, fans. Lenny then gives Miss Watt the old Wicked Witch, then gives Hulk Hogan his wallet back.
Lenny.
You're not gonna hug me or nothing, are you?
On account of that's the only way I can come. Hulk then rescues Leslie and Clayton by kicking down the door. There's gonna be no doors left in this orphanage. Clayton then makes Hulk Hogan take his state-mandated 15-minute break in the middle of this rescue so we can explore some of his lore.
You grew up here.
What?
Look.
Is that me?
Hulk Hogan was an orphan at this orphanage? This couldn't get any more ridiculous.
There's more.
Yes?
You see the boy sitting right next to you? Ebner Frost.
Frost Bagley Jr. was an orphan too, and they were friends? Leslie locks Low-Key in the walk-in freezer.
You got a big surprise coming to you.
Hulk Hogan walks down the Indiana Jones stairs to the basement and finds Frost, who finally recognizes him. They get into the crystal cave, and now it's time for a fight. Oh no, that thing's double-ended. They have a lightsaber battle, apparently.
You were the chosen one,
brother.
But the fight causes too much vibration in this earthquake-proof crystal cave.
It's gonna blow! Fire!
Everyone makes it out, but oh no, the orphanage is turning into claymation. The cops show up, and this is ridiculous. These days, a police officer would never point a gun at a child. The bad guys get arrested and are trapped in a very farty van. But where are the orphans gonna go, dude?
I think I know a place that's available.
Blake's expansive mansion? Nope, they just steal Frost's house.
Ho, ho, ho!
And that's a statuary of the hamburger helper thing. And of course, the moral of the story, the only way that a billionaire is ever going to actually even halfway attempt to help real people is if they hit their head so hard they forget they're a billionaire. And then, kind of not even really.
Merry Cringemas, brother! Do you see any back door?
In 1992, the Ultimate Warrior and the Macho Man Randy Savage decided that they were tired of fighting each other and they were going to make a team and call themselves the Ultimate Maniacs.
But don't call it a comeback!
Great. And somehow, in this partnership, Macho Man seems like the rational, calm, well-reasoned one.
We're the type of people that we say we are.
While the Ultimate Warrior adds,
being a maniac, and it might just not be a definition.
Okay. Ultimate Warrior decides to expand a little bit and try something new and start doing some weird finger things as he warns Ric Flair.
You better not be drowning yourself in pity.
All of this is just to set up a match between the Ultimate Maniacs and Nature Boy Ric Flair and Razor Ramon. A match, I might add, that definitely will happen. Ultimate Warrior says that Razor Ramon,
you better slice up in your heart
and see what kind of soul he has.
They ain't got no soul.
But more importantly, adds that his bond with Macho Man,
there's a bond that can't be broken. Forever. Forever. And ever. And ever. And ever. And ever.
Ultimate Warrior then describes the aftermath of my last visit to Chipotle.
Explosiveness that can never ever be recreated.
Ultimate Warrior then doubles down and calls his bond with Macho Man a chemical combustion.
It forms a bond forever and ever.
Forever. Forever. Forever.
Warrior then gets very strangely closely face-to-face with Macho Man as he's saying these very, intimate things about their bond. We're getting a little bit of the intimate Warrior, which is a bit out of character from what we know about Warrior.
Are as legitimate as heterosexuals?
How are they not?
Because queering doesn't make the world work.
Yikes.
Out of control.
I'll also say, I have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. Do you see any back door?
But feeling kind of into it. Ultimate Warrior then shows everyone how good he would be at rock climbing if his mom would let him.
The bondage of the Ultimate Maniac!
In a moment of candor, Ultimate Warrior finally reveals the secret to the Ultimate Maniac's power.
No sleep, no food, no nothing.
You'd be a skeleton.
What are you gonna do? Bury us now?
I guess. Sports fan, I bet you're wondering what happened with the big match we've been building up. Well, it didn't. Warrior quit. So that's it.
Hey, mister, can I bury you? great!
In the late 1980s, former wrestler and manager Captain Lou Albano played Super Mario in a half real life, half cartoon TV show called Super Mario Brothers Super Show. It's a little wordy. Something you might not know unless you're Gen X or a millennial is that our boomer parents didn't really do much of anything. So much so that the government had to pay celebrities and fun characters from TV shows to create video messages to try to teach kids things.
That's my opinion!
What would you do if you were the victim of a crime?
That feels like a weird question to start us off with, Super Mario.
First, stay calm.
Okay. I'm already a little off track here.
You know the police can't stop crime without your help.
Is Super Mario telling me to not say something or to not say something?
Be sure to let your parents know where you'll be and with whom you'll be playing.
Why does it feel like you're giving me instructions?
Do you know someone that owns a gun?
Or a knife?
Dude, are you threatening me?
Remember, guns and knives can hurt people or even kill them. It could happen to your best friend, or you.
Or you. Or you.
Okay, dude, Mario is for sure threatening me. Listen, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of these empty threats. You can't scare me, Super Mario.
Even if you think the gun isn't loaded or the knife isn't sharp, you wouldn't want to be wrong.
You wouldn't want to be weird.
No, I wouldn't want to be wrong.
Guns and knives can kill.
Okay, understood. What do you want?
Do you know what a stranger is?
What?
Do you know what a stranger is?
You're a stranger. What?
Strangers can act friendly, but they may not be. They might want to hurt you.
How the hell did you even get in here?
When you're home alone, it's important to keep your doors and windows locked.
What is this? A blindfold?
Put it on.
This is ridiculous. There's no way you're getting away with this.
Have you been fingerprinted yet?
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever been fingerprinted, man. Maybe, probably. Why are you doing this?
It's fun.
Fine, just do whatever you want. I don't even care anymore.
Did you know that you have rights just like grown-ups?
Wait, what?
Most important, you have the right to say no to anyone who asks you to do something wrong or dangerous.
Hold on. Hold on. So this was the thing. You're trying to teach me something. Oh my God. Okay. All right. I feel really stupid. I peed a little. I can't. Listen, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Agreed. I have rights. Thank you very much. How can I help you?
Do you know someone that owns a gun?
Or a knife?
Anybody can skin an animal that's dead.
In the early 1990s, the WWF introduced a character from the Florida Everglades. Why?
What, you got a better idea?
Some folks say there ain't much to skinning.
I don't know anyone who's ever said that.
A big old sharp knife and peel back the flesh.
That sounds like a lot of things, actually. This is Skinner.
Skinner!
Wonder what he does. Skinner tells us
anybody can skin an animal that's dead.
Which is some wild shit to say. I don't think just anyone could do that. Where are we going with this?
Trick is skinning one that's still alive.
How is this for wrestling? He also doesn't sound like what I think he should sound like. I swear like 15 years ago, I saw a random episode of Wife Swap with this guy named Pookie.
Hi, yo, now I'm worried.
He was from the Everglades or something.
It's a lazy person's work. Actually, I mean, it's not really that hard.
That's what Skinner should sound like, and that's a man who can probably skin someone while they're alive.
Of course. You know, I gotta break the back first to keep them from squirming.
You're still here? Skinner then wonders how the WWF boys will wiggle and squirm
right before I break their backs.
You need us for any of this? And that was really weird. Thank God he's gone.
Take your knife, run it down their belly.
We're gonna let this guy in the building? We're paying him.
And skin him. Just like I'm ready for you boys.
I don't know, man. I'm starting to think this Skinner guy might be a little weird. Skater. Skater would actually be cool. Skinner then tells us that when you're out in the swamp trying to hunt gators, you should be really careful. Cool. Thanks, man. You got any more good advice? Hey, Skinner, if I'm walking down the road and I see some train tracks, should I just turn my white noise machine all the way up and just take a nap on the tracks, or... But gator swimming is, of course, risky business. So much so, in fact, that an alligator actually tore off Skinner's left shirt sleeve. Skinner did have a bit of a tobacco chewing problem, I guess you could say, and his career in the WWF didn't really last very long. The true kiss of death being the almost immediately losing to the past his prime Ultimate Warrior.
Guess what, Virgil?
Unfortunately, Skinner was later found floating in the Everglades. No, he's not dead. He just got divorced and lives on his buddy's houseboat now. Playboy Buddy Rose was a fantastic professional wrestler, so it only makes sense that when he finally came to the WWF, they immediately turned him into a tasteless joke.
You've tried and tried and tried.
What, you're telling me you have a better idea for this guy than doing a parody weight loss commercial on this pro wrestling show? Come on. Right off the bat, we're supposed to accept that Buddy Rose exercises in a women's crop top and a pair of grape smugglers.
'Cause he's fat, pal. Get it? You still can't lose weight.
This is a fake commercial for the blow-away diet plan. What could this possibly be? I don't know, because this is definitely one of those things where they had the idea of the joke first and then worked backwards to try to make it make sense.
And it makes losing weight a breeze.
This particular fake diet does not make you reduce calories, which also does make it not a diet. Space blanket not included. The fake blow-away not diet does let you eat whatever you want. Like this whole turkey in front of the fridge, because that happens all the time. Right, fellas?
'Cause he's fat, pal. Get it?
No exercise, no shakes, no counting calories. So what even is it? Well, you probably already guessed that all you have to do is take a box of laundry detergent and dump it all over your semi-nude body and sit in a chair and then turn on an oscillating fan and have it blow all the dust off of you.
Blow the weight away!
And that's how it works.
So I'm sitting there, barbecue sauce on my titties.
They then further denigrate Buddy Rose by showing him eat a hunk of cake and put an entire tub of butter on a slice of bread.
'Cause he's fat, pal. Get it? Blow away your way to a tighter tummy and blow away your way to a firmer fanny.
Stop. Let's just stop. This whole thing was an idea that someone had, right? And then they wrote it down in a notebook, had a meeting about it. Someone said, yeah, pal, what a maneuver. And then decided that it would be okay to spend money on this. People had to clock in to create this. They then show us the before and after pictures, which are basically the same. What is the point of any of this? Do you have any idea how expensive TV time is? This product, sports fan, is not available in stores, and you can only order it via telephone from the phone number on this commercial. And would you like to guess what the phone number is? 555-4BBW? Nope. 1-500-LARDASS. And it turns out that number is still active. So let's give it a call. 1-500-LARDASS. Speaker. Yeah, this is the blow-away diet.
Yes, it is. I already said that once already, sir. What the fuck?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I guess put me through to place an order.
Okay, absolutely. But don't blow yourself.
Thank you. Hold music. I actually kind of like the hold music. I feel like everyone... Hello? Hello?